Welcome back to Created Rocks with Dan the Rock Man. This episode, I've named it Salt, the Unsung Hero. Now this salt right here is just a little salt packet that came from Chick-fil-A. Now we take salt for granted because it's just everywhere. But we've used it for thousands of years and it has tons of uses. And so it's really something we shouldn't overlook. And basically what we use salt for today is our bodies have to have it to live. We cook with it. We use it for road salt to keep ice off the roads. We use it to make chemicals and medicines and food. We also use it for our livestock to keep them healthy, feed them salt. They need that. And some history of salt. It's been used for thousands of years. And I'm reading the book right now, The Travels of Marco Polo. And I want to do another episode on this, talk about other things, but it was saying about the 1200s that they would use salt to actually pay wages to people. And my father-in-law, who's a now retired history professor, he was telling me that Roman soldiers would actually get paid in salt. That way they could preserve their meats that they would eat. Now the Jewish nation would use salt in their religious ceremonies with God. And also, in the Bible, Jesus and the Apostle Paul use salt symbolically. And basically, Jesus is calling Christians the salt of the earth, and Paul wants Christians to have salt in their words. And basically what his meaning is, he wants Christians to show love, not with their actions and their words, to share the good news, what Jesus did, and basically show good deeds to others. And so just like salt makes food taste good, he wants Christians' lives to taste good to those around them. He wants them to show kindness to people. And so I wanted to show you this right here. This is just a piece of unclean rock salt that I got from this mine called Strataca mine that we went to, and you're going to learn more about it. And so I really am an advocate of having salt in your rock collection, because if you clean it up right and shine it up right the way they teach you, it's really a cool thing to add to your collection. And so up next, we're going to talk about how some of the ways salt is mined and more about the mine itself. All right, let's go. Okay, guys, I want to talk today about Strataca, the Kansas Underground Salt Museum. It's a really good museum to go to. I highly recommend it. It's in Hutchinson, Kansas, and it's well worth going. Now, when you mine salt, three of the main ways are the room and pillar method, solution mining, and then there's solar salt, or the evaporation method. And that last method has been used for thousands of years. You just take ocean water, evaporate it, and get your salt. But the way these guys use it is the room and pillar. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a second. But first I want to show you kind of what it looks like underneath the mine. This was an interesting diagram of what it looks like underneath here. You've got the Hutchinson Salt member, or it's basically the the salt formation here, the Hutchinson Salt Formation. And above it, you've got what's called I know I'm going to say this wrong, the Nanishka Shale, which is kind of reddish to gray in color. And you got the upper and lower Wellington Shale, which is gray in color. And that is the main impurity for the Hutchinson salt. That's why they don't use it as table salt, they use it as road salt. There's other impurities too, but that's the main one. And so the interesting fact about this museum is they had to drill a vertical shaft down to the salt. But what this map doesn't show is the world's largest water aquifer is kind of right in the way here. And so what they did is it took a little bit just under a year to make it. What they did is they put liquid nitrogen, freeze the water, get the water out of there, pour the concrete down in 15-foot slabs, and do that every day until they got it down here to the salt mine. And so now the shaft, it's about 650 feet down, and it takes about 90 seconds to get from top to bottom in the elevator there that they've got for visitors. And so it took a little maneuvering to make that happen. And so I want to talk to you next, this is kind of what they do. They do what's called the room and pillar method of mining. Now you can use this for coal, salt, uranium, iron. This has been used since the medieval times in Europe, but they don't use it so much there now. But here they use it. And it's basically, you make these rooms, And right next to the rooms, you've got these thick, thick pillars. And the pillars can be up to 40 feet thick. And the pillars are what hold up the salt above it. And so you just do it in like a checkerboard kind of pattern, and you do it in different layers. And each one of these pillars is going to hold up the layer above it. And so it can be risky, but it's really effective. And so that's why they use it. And also, a neat fact about the mine itself, because it's so deep, it stays a consistent 68 degrees. And so there's another company that works with Strataca that they don't really work with each other, but they both have this use that space. And basically they store important papers or Hollywood costumes or important stuff down there, because it just stays at such a constant temperature. It's good for so things don't get ruined. And so I think when we were there, we saw a Superman costume that was in one of the movies. So it was kind of neat. All right, now for the creation science side of things. When we look at this salt formation, there's a couple different theories out there. And I want to first thank Nathan Moak from the Creation Research Society online community. He kind of gave me these terms and helped me understand them a little bit. But this is pretty technical on how salt formation happens way in the ground like this. And so I don't understand it that well, so I'm going to put down the terms in the link and the description below so you can, research it yourself. But the two ideas out there is what's called salt magmatism and hydrothermal deposition. And salt magmatism is just where salt comes up from the underneath deep in the ground, and it's hot enough to be molten, and then it goes injected into a certain spot, and then just cools down like magma does and becomes a solid. So I'm not sure how this exactly happened. So it depends on what kind of salt it is and other factors that I'm not sure about. So I highly recommend that you do some research on your own if you want to find out more. But that's from that perspective of it. All right, now next we're going to look at salt from the different parts of the earth and show you some of that. Okay guys, I just want to show you this really cool Salts of the Earth kit that I got. It's for cooking, but I just thought it showed a really cool variety of the different colors and crystal sizes of salts from around the world. It's got a really pretty container. And so what I want to do is go through where these are found, kind of show you what they look like. At the end, on some of them, I have a microscope for my phone, so I took some pictures of some of them. You can see in the back plates here, and you'll be able to see that after this. But the first salt I want to cover is called the Bolivian Rose Salt. Now, you think Himalayan is the only pink, but this is actually pink in color too. And it's because it's called the Pink Rose Quartz Stone Salt. And I'm assuming there's some rose quartz in there that gives it its pink color. And this is found in Bolivia, which is just west of Brazil in South America. And now the next salt is a white salt, but it's really fancy. It's for all the fancy foods. And it's found, they harvest it around France and Britain area. And they just literally take it from the ocean and hand and sun dry it, and then use it for fancy foods. And it's called the Atlantic Fleur de Sal, which means flower of salt. Now moving south, we're going to go to Botswana, to the Kalahari Desert, which is just north of South Africa. And it's got a really big flake to it. It's white. And it's basically just sun-dried and used as is. And the next one, we're going to move back up here to Cyprus, which is a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. Also has really white and big flakes. And then we go over to Israel, to the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea salt is where it's the lowest and saltiest place on the earth. And so this is what this salt looks like. It's kind of like a brown color, brown-white color, maybe from the minerals in it. And so I thought this was really cool salt too. And then the next one, Israel's here, and then the next two salts actually come from the Himalayas, and one of them I didn't know, but the common pink, Himalayan pink salt is found deep within the mountain ranges there. But this next one, it sounds a little Klingon when you say it, but it's Kala Namak. And basically, it's a black Himalayan salt. It's volcanic in nature, and that's where it gets its color from. And so I was really surprised it kind of found in the same place in the Himalayas. And then the last one is just a common sea salt that they smoke it using oak wood to give it kind of like a smoked flavor. And so that's kind of interesting to do that with salt. So I'll show you next from the plates here, some of the microscope pictures of what these salt crystals look like up close. Okay guys, this is one of the pieces that I've washed and treated already from Strataca, the rock salt. And I think it came out really good. I washed it and let it dry for 24 hours and then sprayed both sides with enamel, and the shininess came out really good. I knew how to do that is they give you this little direction sheet of how to care for it, to wash it down with lukewarm water if it's dirty, and use some clear enamel spray to protect it. I purposely didn't use the warm lukewarm water because I thought salt and water kind of dissolve with each other, so I did cold water hoping it would dissolve less because I'm trying to keep the salt crystals as shiny as possible. And it worked. It came out really good. I sprayed both sides, and it takes about a half hour for each side to dry. I use this Rust-Oleum gloss clear enamel, and I used it's hard to see this, but I used the crystal clear kind because my thought was that I want to keep the crystals as shiny as possible. Really, I would like not to use the spray at all, but if you leave salt untreated, the air kind of messes with it a little bit. I've had some Himalayan salt that I've displayed, but you can kind of see that I think it's the moisture in the air kind of like makes it crystallize and make it look not as nice. And so I think that's what it is. I think it's the moisture in the air. So with the enamel, you can make it so it's kind of protects it from that moisture. So I'm going to rinse this off and use the enamel spray on this as well to hopefully make this nice for the future.